Well, look who it is. The people that made fun of crypto, called it a scam, made fun of us crypto bros, coming to learn about crypto. Well, lucky for you, we don't hold grudges. We want you to learn. And so in this video, what I'm going to do is walk through some of the most important crypto terms that we can bring you up to speed so that you can make better decisions if you do decide to invest in crypto. Because the more that we all know, the more that we all win. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into the terms. All right. So to put this list together, I used my good boy ChatGPT and went back and forth with him or her a few times to put these terms into categories based on the specific grouping of things in crypto. So like categories within crypto. And there's definitely going to be terms missing from this list. So whatever I missed, my fellow crypto people, let me know in the comments, either roast me or help educate people by sharing what I missed in the comment section down below and explaining what it is. So first, let's get into the market and valuation section. And so if you're looking to make money, you're looking to invest, understanding these terms is going to be very, very important. And massive disclaimer, none of this is financial advice. It will never be. So the first term is market cap. And this is something that it's scary how few people that own crypto understand this concept. So if you're investing, if you just know this, you'll be in a minority. So market cap stands for market capitalization, which is the total value of a crypto asset. And all that is the current price of one token or one of the crypto times the circulating supply. So how much is out there? Price of one times how many there are. Simple math. It's a key metric to compare coins like Bitcoin and categorize them into large, mid, or small cap coins. This is really important stuff to know because when you want to look at where a project can go, you have to look at where it currently is and how big that ship is to see how much energy, or in this case, money, it's going to take to move it. So let's look at something like Bitcoin. It's at nearly $2.4 trillion of market cap. And so for that price to move in a significant way, there has to be that kind of influx of money into the asset for it to move. So naturally, it just takes so much more for things to move. That's why it's not really that relevant to look at the individual price of an asset to gauge whether you should buy it or not. And a lot of projects will actually use the individual price of their coin as a marketing tactic. So if someone comes in here and they know nothing about crypto, and I've seen this happen dozens of times whenever I've introduced crypto to people in my life, they'll come and they'll look at Bitcoin. They're like, oh, wow, it's 119K. I've already missed my opportunity. And then they'll scroll down to something like, let's say, XRP. And they'll say, oh, it's only at $3.56. I want to get in before it gets to 120K. If you just look at a little bit more on how the crypto is structured, you'll see that that's incredibly unlikely to happen, and in many cases impossible to happen. But they'll do that deliberately as a psychological thing. That's not the case here with XRP. That's more so with meme coins. So if you look at a lot of the most popular meme coins, they're fractions of a penny oftentimes for the individual price. Strategically, so let's look at Bonk. It's 0.1234, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, and then 3, 5, 6, 3. It's just a psychological thing. But when you look at the market cap, it's just this number times the circulating supply, which is right here, which then gives you the market cap, which is right here. So it's individual price times circulating supply, which gives you the market cap. And so this is the total value of the project right now. And so this price will move up or down based on inflows of demand, people buying and selling, all that good stuff. It's really important to know this stuff. Very few people do. So then fully diluted market cap is the next one, which is the market cap calculated if all tokens, including what's locked and vested, were in circulation. So a lot of projects, what they'll do is they'll lock tokens up for a certain amount of time to deliver their desired purpose. So it could be, let's say a team is launching a new project and the coin is the primary thing it's being built around. They'll lock up a certain amount that will be given to the team later so they don't come on the market and just sell it and dump the price. So the fully diluted market cap is the market cap of all tokens, including what's locked or vested, if they were in circulation. So the same math we just did, but also including whatever's locked or vested. The next term is trading volume, which we also saw on CoinMarketCap. That's what this website is, by the way. CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko is another one. These are just places where you can come and look at pretty well every crypto project, and you can also create your own little portfolio to keep track of what's going up and down. If you buy even more than 2 or 3 crypto projects, it can become a lot to try to watch from the exchanges or the apps on your phone. So having something like this where you can make a buy and then come in here and add that to your virtual portfolio is a great way to keep track of things. But if you look at the volume, the trading volume, it's how much changed hands of that asset over a 24-hour period. So the more volume that's taking place, that can mean different things, right? But if the project is dead, chances are it's not going to have a lot of things being traded in it because there's not participation in the project. So definitely a good number to know. And another key theme that I want to stress throughout this video is there will always be people that are more technically sound, that know more terms and understand more definitions. And you can get lost in that trap forever. And a lot of academic people, their whole lives have become that, where they're so obsessed about the fact that they know more definitions rather than understanding that the concept is more important to understand, and applying that is really where value is created and you can improve your life. So there will be so many more people out there that understand specific definitions better than I do. I don't care. There's a lot of people out there that are insufferable. They're hard to hang out with because they get so obsessed over the fact that they know a definition that you don't. That'll never be me, and that shouldn't be you. Don't obsess over the specific words in the order that they're at or how they're presented. Understand the concept so that you can make it work for you. Next thing is market dominance, which is a coin's market cap as a percentage of the total crypto market. So for example, a big one that's talked about a lot is Bitcoin's dominance. And so since Bitcoin carries the entire market, it's a very good indication for where things are going. If you look at how much of the total crypto market it is Bitcoin. And so the more that goes down, that's telling you that projects outside of Bitcoin itself are going up in value, especially if Bitcoin's not going down in price, right? So as we're entering this alt season that's about to happen, you're going to see Bitcoin dominance fall as a lot of money surges towards altcoins. And so altcoins are really just anything besides Bitcoin, which is a term that I'm assuming is in this list. But to be honest, I didn't even read it fully over. So we're learning this together. But anything other than Bitcoin is an altcoin. And some people even say anything other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that'll probably become more of a thing as Ethereum becomes more mainstream adopted within the traditional or TradFi financial systems. So back to here, all-time high versus low, very straightforward. The highest something's ever been or the lowest something's ever been. A market correction, this definition is a drop of 10% from a peak signals correction. Bubbles occur when prices vastly exceed intrinsic value. So a market correction or a bubble is when something is dropping or overpriced or underpriced, much like traditional financial markets. You can dive deeper into the specifics of that if you want, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to move forward. So NFTs and digital ownership. NFT stands for a non-fungible token. I'm sure you saw these all over the internet 4 or so years ago. When you saw Bored Apes, you saw Pudgy Penguins are still very relevant. You saw CryptoPunks, all those different projects, shout out Deadfellas. That's a non-fungible token. And so that is a unique digital token representing ownership or authenticity of an asset. So picture art or collectibles, that's the first use of this. That's become the most mainstream adopted. And OpenSea is the platform where a lot of the trading of these goes down and where most of the biggest projects are found. And so all NFTs is a technology. It's what allows something to have digital scarcity. So something that is proof that it exists, it's identifiable, and it's unique. So if you come to Pudgy Penguins, let's go here. This specific penguin is an NFT. And so this is a unique set of attributes that goes into this thing's existence that makes it a one-of-one unique, okay? So this thing is this thing, and you can prove it online with the technology of an NFT. Then ERC 721 is the Ethereum token standard for NFTs, which was introduced in 2017 or 2018. So they were very, very early, which is why most of the early adopters of NFTs in general and most of these projects, like these companies or these IPs, which stands for intellectual properties, like Pudgy Penguins is an intellectual property, they were minted using this technology on Ethereum because it was there and it was accessible. And so people that wanted to start this at that time, they used Ethereum. And so that's why many of the biggest projects are there, just because it was the first one that they could get access to that I know of. I'm sure there may have been others, but Ethereum was very early in the game. There's a lot more now. There's a lot of marketplaces, but a lot of the ones that you'll have seen and recognized before, they are on Ethereum because they were the first to move. So that's that. Metadata is data linked to NFTs describing attributes, provenance, and etc. So let's use the same example of a Pudgy here with this glorious mustache. Every element that goes into this NFT are traits, or as the term gave here, metadata. Right there. So the different things that go into making your asset its unique thing. So the background is as a trait, and this one has mint. Then there's a combination of maroon skin, turtleneck pink, for their body, the handlebar bear, which is the mustache, and then bucket hat green. So those things together creates this unique thing that is owned by a specific person, and you can prove that you own this specific thing due to the connection of things that were minted on to this chain, which is the next thing we're going to talk about here. And I know that I'm probably speaking pure gibberish to most people. So as I said before, I'm going to double down on this. You don't need to understand every term. Look for first grasping concepts, and then the terms will stick the more that you understand the concept itself. So NFT, just digital ownership. So like a digital collectible, all right? Minting is the process of publishing an NFT on a blockchain. So it's what makes it real. It's like the blockchain giving birth to the Pudgy Penguin, right? Before it was minted, it did not exist. Once it is minted, it now is a thing, like giving birth. A computer's giving birth to a JPEG, essentially. And so one other thing, I don't know if they mentioned PFP. Do they talk about it? They don't. Okay, so one term that ChatGPT missed was, if you hear the term PFP, which you'll see right here, it's a classification of NFT projects. So it's a category of NFT projects, because NFT is just a technology, so it can be used for whatever. And why most people think that NFTs are a scam is because they think that it's just these pictures, right? Why the first projects chose this PFP or profile picture approach was because they understand that in something that's a digital collectible, it being able to be represented wherever a supporter shows up online in their profile picture online, then the value will go up the more higher profile people are spreading the message of supporting this specific thing. That's why so many of these profiles or so many of these projects went the PFP route. And that's what PFP stands for, is profile picture. So ChatGPT forgot that term. Then royalties, which is automated payments to creators when NFTs are resold. So when someone creates an NFT project on OpenSea or JPEGs.store, whatever it may be, the creator can then assign a royalty where whenever this project trades hands, so it's bought and sold, the overall project makes some commission for that taking place. That's a big point of contention amongst the NFT community, because I believe they're optional on OpenSea and not on other platforms. So when you make a trade, you can decide whether or not to give the royalties to the project on OpenSea. I believe that's how it functions. Last time I traded an NFT, I saw that option there. But these things can change. If OpenSea were to change that, they could theoretically change that at any given point. And on other platforms, it is a set thing that is not an option. So next term here is floor price. This is actually a very important thing to know if you're ever going to invest into NFTs. So the floor price is the lowest asking price for an NFT within a collection. So it's basically like, what is the cheapest price that you could buy one for right now? So someone is willing to sell it at that price. And if you have the amount of whatever the crypto is that it was minted on, or the chain that it was minted on, so in this case, it'd be Ethereum. As long as you had enough Ethereum, you could come in here and buy this right now because the owner of this has listed it for sale. So you'll see that the floor price is 15.97 Ethereum, because the cheapest one that has been listed for sale is at that price. So that's what dictates the floor price. So how does a price move? Is as the floor price goes up, as these get bought. And so as the cheapest ones get bought and the floor price goes up, that's what's called sweeping the floor. So very often projects will go up in price pretty rapidly because someone will come in, and if they have enough Ethereum or if they combine together, they'll buy enough to basically raise the floor very quickly by sweeping it, by getting rid of all these. So let's quick math right here. Not really math, but an example. If I had enough Ethereum, and let's say I only bought these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I bought all of these, the price of the floor then instantly jumps to 16.22. So you'll see that's a pretty dramatic increase just simply from someone coming in and buying 7 of these. Of course, that is a ton of money, but for people that were early in crypto, they didn't pay the prices for Ethereum that you or I would pay today. They paid pennies in the dollar. And so for them, in terms of what they paid for it, it might not actually be that much money. And that's why a lot of the people who play around with NFTs and buying and selling them, they were early adopters of these chains. And so they're playing around with house money. They're playing with pennies when you and I are playing around with tens of thousands of dollars. So it's just a different game, which is also why these prices can move so quickly. It doesn't take that many people who were early to come in and say, hey, let's go raise the floor. And then they go buy enough to raise the floor by multiple Ethereum. That's how NFT projects can run so quickly. And why I think that NFTs will move a lot as altcoin season becomes more of a thing and as people get more drunk on their gains and how much money that they've come into. One thing you got to remember is that rich people buy dumb things, and that's not going to stop just because it's coming from online. If anything, I think it'll become even more of a thing because people can flex their wealth constantly, and there's also no barrier to making a dumb decision, right? If you want to buy a Rolex and you can't really afford it, but you technically have the money, there's more steps that go into place to acquire that Rolex, a little bit more so than something like this where I can literally just come in and click buy now and it's mine, right? So there's just a ease of access there. And so I think NFTs are going to become a very big thing. And personally, I love investing into NFTs or trading them because they're just easier markets to predict because it doesn't take nearly as many people to come in and move the price of something. As we talked about earlier with crypto, we use the example of Bitcoin. When the market cap is so large that like there has to be such large influxes of money and naturally large influxes of people to move this. Whereas a crypto project, it only takes really a few really passionate collectors or people that want to move the price for these things to move very quickly. So these things can run incredibly fast. They're also very volatile because they're in the hands of not that many. So you can see from this whole project, there's only 8,888 of them. So naturally, there's not a lot of supply. So there's a lot of buyers that come in quickly. The price can just go up so dramatically because of that very limited supply. And there's only 5,000 people, less than 5,000 people on the planet that own a Pudgy, which is pretty insane, especially as it's becoming a world recognized brand. It's going to be more of a flex to own these things day over day. And that's an NFT for the most part. Did I miss anything else? No. Cool. So now we'll go on to tokenomics and supply. So tokenomics is a study of how token supply, distribution, incentives, and economics create value. So it's basically the structure of a project. So when new projects get listed, and so if you're going to come into this and start investing into smaller cap things, more risky things, newer things, the tokenomics is something that people are going to mention in other videos that you may watch. And it's the structure of how the project is built and distributed amongst the people involved and how they plan to grow it based on how they divide things up. All right. Circulating versus total versus max supply, which is the available tokens, tokens in project use, and then cap on issuance. I can't help you much more beyond that. So circulating supply is available tokens now. Tokens in project use is the total. And then max supply has how many that could possibly ever be in circulation. Also, if any of these terms don't make sense, do what I did. Go into ChatGPT and say, explain X term to me like I'm a curious 12-year-old. And they'll explain it in enough ways if you go back and forth to where you'll understand the concept. And crypto, just like most industries, they're not actually that complicated from a concept standpoint. There's just a whole new language you have to learn before you can understand the different things and stack that knowledge to make good decisions. Why crypto is so important to learn is because there's so much money coming into the space. What you learn here can make you insane amounts of money before the rest of the world understands. Most value is hidden where most people won't go. And so if this is just the barrier to entry is understanding the information, it's shocking how lazy people are and they won't get past this. If you're even watching this video still at this point, you're not lazy. So take it the extra mile and really dive deep into understanding the concepts that you feel are important so that you can make better decisions and not just be aimlessly throwing money at crypto projects like everyone else will be. Because everyone's going to make money when altcoin season starts, but the people that make the most money are the ones that can go to things understanding why they're going there and allow them to be even earlier and to make even crazier returns because they know things that others just don't because they're too lazy to learn. Next term is token burn. So it's a permanent removal of tokens to reduce supply. So as a gesture of goodwill there's so many reasons why you could do it, but you can burn tokens so there's less to go around, which in turn should increase the value of each individual one that is still remaining in supply. Vesting schedule is the timeline dictating when tokens unlock or become liquid. As we talked about earlier, you can lock up tokens for specific reasons. And so the vesting schedule would tell you when those get released. A good real world example would be to look at Trump's coin. So there was, through the tokenomics and the roadmap for that project, they had certain tokens locked up that they were going to release to certain people at certain times. So that's the vesting schedule. Inflationary versus deflationary tokens. And this is tokens that increase supply over time are inflationary versus tokens whose supply decreases or is capped is deflationary. And so there are projects that have both structures. There are some that will constantly be more and more over time. And there's some that will be less and less or stay at a specific number over time. So for Bitcoin, for example, there will never be more than, I believe it's 21 million Bitcoins in the entire world. How many Bitcoins will exist? 21 million. Yeah. I knew that number, but I know there's going to be some crypto nerds watching this thing, so I had to make sure to get it right. All right. And then that is inflationary versus deflationary tokens. Now let's go to blockchain and consensus. So a blockchain, or a block, is a chain of time-stamped data blocks. Each block holds a set of transactions. So this is really the backbone of crypto, is the blockchain technology. And the biggest example I can give is Bitcoin, where why Bitcoin is so transformative is it allows people to exchange value in real time, anywhere, at any time, with no need for a third party, a trusted third party. And so that's really the reason why banks exist and the central banking system exists, is that we can't trust someone we don't know to interact with them in a financial way without taking on a ton of risk. Whereas the blockchain allows that to take place by having all of the information of the checks and balances across a wide network to prove that something happened as it's happening and as it happened in the past. So it allows us to interact with each other without using a central third party like a bank, and all of the cons that come around with a bank of only being allowed with certain hours, certain rules, all that crap that comes with a traditional banking system. A blockchain allows it to be far more inclusive and far more decentralized. So splitting the power across way more people, it's not something that can just be turned off. So the concept of banking hours, which is this crazy concept with the internet, that doesn't need to be a thing with blockchain, right? And I'm oversimplifying things, and anything that I got wrong, this is meant to be a place for everyone to learn. So teach me too. If I'm screwing anything up, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm happy to learn. I'm happy to be told why I'm wrong. I benefit from it. I've never understood why people get offended when they get told they're wrong. If you have a good opinion, or you know something I don't, thank you. I appreciate you for telling me. All right, next is hash, or hash rate, which is a cryptographic fingerprint. Hash rate is the network's computing power. Okay, so that's not even a term that I could have given to someone. So you'll see there's still a ton of things that there's always so much more to learn. A nonce is a number, I'm assuming that's not nunts. I think it's nonce. A number used once in block creation to meet target hashes. That's beyond my technical prowess. I do want to get more people on that are very technical within crypto and try to push them to communicate in simple language, because most of the reason why crypto shows don't get mass adoption is because they speak in these terms all the time. And so if someone's coming in cold, which you probably are watching this, you sit down and you watch 10, 15 minutes of it, and it feels like you're watching something in a different language. It's just not approachable. That's also a big reason why I started this show, is because I feel like I know enough to speak to the nerds, but I don't know too much where I only speak there, so that you, if you don't even know a lot, can still hopefully understand. That's really the goal of this show, is to try to bridge the gap between understanding and pushing the level of understanding. So that's the goal. We'll see if we get there. So moving on, consensus, which is proof of work versus proof of stake. And so this is just different protocols that are used to basically allow a blockchain to function. So proof of work relies on mining, and proof of stake uses staked tokens. I recommend diving deeper into both of those, but these are largely how blockchains function. They make choices on how it's structured for the whole thing to take place. And this is you can get pretty deep into this subject. This is pretty technical. So there are pros and cons to both. But I definitely recommend diving deeper into these things. And you can go find videos on YouTube, but most of the people are going to be highly, highly technical. And so it's a little overwhelming, but definitely worth talking back and forth with ChatGPT until you understand. And if there's ever any specific terms that you want me to do a deep dive on, I can either bring an expert on, or I can show my live back and forth with ChatGPT to help you get there. So this is meant to be a resource for as many people as possible. Take advantage. Leave questions in the comment section. I'll do my best to get back to people. And I'm also confident that people in the crypto community will help you as well, because anybody who's not so driven by ego understands that the more people that we teach crypto, the more we all win. And so if you're a crypto person and you're still here, your job is to educate as many people as possible, even for yourself, for your own bags. The more people that understand, the higher likelihood that people will want to buy what you currently have. I've never understood the divide between crypto bros and the normies or whatever. Everyone's just going to become a crypto bro, so let's just embrace it. So moving on, finality, which is a point when a transaction becomes irreversible. So that's important to know. Once a transaction takes place, you can't just undo it because it's reached its finality where it has now happened. And so if something has exchanged hands, Everyone knows that transaction took place. So the only way that it can't be undone, but it could be sent back, right? There's no undo button once it's reached a finality point. A shard is a subdivision of a blockchain to improve scalability. A Markle tree is a data structure verifying block contents and integrity. A lot of this stuff is even technology or words that are above my understanding on a technical level. So that goes to show you that you don't need to know every little specific thing to still be involved, and it's all opportunities for learning. Oracle, which is the connector that brings off-chain data into blockchain systems. DeFi and financial protocols is the next category. And DeFi is going to be a massive, massive sector because so much money, which is DeFi, is decentralized finance. So DeFi stands for decentralized finance. So DeFi is financial services, which is lending, swapping, insurance that is on chain without centralized intermediaries. Why this is such a massive deal is because most of the massive amounts of money that moves and changes hands is done through means that you and I would never even think of on a day-to-day basis. So like lending, swapping, insurance at mass, huge scales. And so if that can be done on chain, that opens up the world to be a lot more accessible to a lot of people, where traditional banking systems can kick people out or they don't set up the infrastructure in certain places. When things do reach this point where DeFi is a far bigger thing, everything becomes a lot more accessible and easy to use, ideally, and hopefully cheaper as well, and more secure. A dApp is a decentralized app which utilizes smart contracts. For layer ones would be something like Ethereum is the most popular one. So Ethereum is a technology that things can be built on. So dApps or decentralized applications can be built upon Ethereum to then provide some sort of specific use case to you as the end user. So think a lot like when Apple revolutionized the smartphone, the App Store was really the money-making vector or invention that made the iPhone worth so much. Was the fact that, yes, of course, they made a bit of money on the hardware, but the most amount of money they made was people buying through the App Store. So a lot of people don't know this, but since Apple has had a stranglehold in the market, they charge what's called the Apple tax to anybody who sells through their platform. So when I have mobile applications, it's part of my business. Whenever we sell to a user, Apple takes 30% of it right away just for being on their platform. It's pretty insane. And so with a lot of layer one blockchains, you can build these dApps or decentralized applications for specific use cases. Like let's think of apps on your phone. You can think of Airbnb, Uber, et cetera, et cetera. They give you some sort of real world outcome that's built through software on your phone, now in a decentralized capacity that can be done with what's called a dApp on different blockchains. Cool. Now let's move on to a DEX or an AMM, which is automated liquidity-based decentralized exchanges. So I didn't even know what AMM was, but a DEX is a decentralized exchange. So that's something like Uniswap would be an example of a decentralized exchange. Let me go here. So I'll actually just prove it. Is Uniswap a DEX? Yes, Uniswap is a decentralized exchange. It is a protocol built on Ethereum, on the Ethereum blockchain, that allows users to trade cryptocurrencies directly with each other without needing a centralized intermediary. Uniswap is one of the largest and most well-known DEXs in the DeFi space. So you probably have purchased crypto through something like, let's say, crypto.com. That is a centralized exchange. But let's say you were to buy something, let's say you were to buy Ethereum, but you want to trade the Ethereum into a different Ethereum-based token. You could go onto Uniswap and swap it amongst the different things to change it. And it's not done through a centralized thing like, say, crypto.com. It is it's a decentralized exchange that allows people to interact and trade their tokens and their cryptos to do whatever they're looking to do. All right. Liquidity pool is funds or mining is funds locked in smart contracts, enabling trades providers can earn fees or rewards. So a liquidity pool is basically where you lock up funds in, let's say, a specific project, and you get rewarded with by earning fees or rewards in it. So it's basically like a vote of confidence in a project to say that there's this much locked up, saying there's this much capital here that believes this is going to be a positive thing. The more funds that are locked up, the higher likelihood that a lot of people, or at least some really rich people, believe this is going to be successful. So impermanent loss is associated with this. and it's a temporary loss by liquidity providers due to relative price shifts. So if you were to, and hopefully I can explain this well, if you were to say, lock up some of your liquidity in a project and the price were to go down, then it could be a temporary loss due to the relative price shift. So naturally, yes, you've earned X amount of token, but if the token price goes down, then you've lost money, even though you've gained more of the asset because the asset went down in price. I probably butchered that explanation. My crypto nerds out there, help explain it better, or go to ChatGPT. A flash loan is an instant collateralless loans requiring repayment within the same block. That one's new to me. Staking/validator, locking tokens to secure proof of stake blockchains and earn rewards. So basically, you're helping to make the network function better, and so you get rewarded for doing so. And a lot of these terms are also so relative, like how important they are to understand based on how you want to function within crypto. There's so many different ways that you can get involved in crypto apart from just investing, of buying and selling. And so the more of these terms that you learn, the more ways you'll see there are opportunities to connect with people, make money through crypto, passively invest through crypto, or make passive income through crypto. There's so many ways to get involved, and a lot of the opportunities to get involved hide behind terms you don't understand. And so the more you can learn, the better it's going to be. Total value locked is total assets deposited into a decentralized finance protocol. All right, we got 4 more sections. I'm going to try to speed through these because I've already been talking for nearly 32 minutes. So security and wallets, this is a big one. A lot of people's concerns with anything money related is their security. So a private key or a seed phrase is secrets granting control over crypto holdings. So a seed phrase, when you make a new crypto wallet, it'll generate you a seed phrase, which is a collection of unique words that are in order specific to you in your wallet. And let's say if you were to lose your password or something were to break, as long as you have that seed phrase, you can recover it from anywhere. So it's very important that you write that down and you do so in a secure place and not something that can be easily hacked. Because if someone gets your seed phrase, they can get into your wallet and they can take the crypto assets and do with it whatever they want. There's different kinds of wallets. There's a hot versus a cold wallet. A hot wallet is something online. So like MetaMask, and an offline is a cold storage wallet. It's like a physical device that can store the crypto on there. And so there's pros and cons to both. Obviously, with it being on a cold storage option, you could lose it. But then there's also almost no chance of it getting hacked, right? So there's pros and cons to both. A hardware wallet is an offline device to securely store keys. So we talked about that. A multi-sig is a wallet requiring multiple signatures to spend funds. There's phishing and a dusting attack, which are scams tricking users into revealing sensitive information or de-anonymizing them. That's another massive thing that if you're new to crypto is you want to be concerned about scams. And so I recommend if you ever think that it's a scam, it probably is. And it's good to get informed and act in places where you feel you have a decent understanding. Because if you ever get a text and it seems sketchy, just like anything in life, just like with regular banking, there's a lot of people that are going to be trying to scam you. And because it can all be done digitally, especially when altcoin season starts, there's going to be so many scammers out there. So I would say don't pick up a phone unless you have them in your contact. And even if you do have them in your contact, be careful. It could be someone pretending to be them. So just be careful is the biggest thing that I'm going to say. Then trading and market behavior. These are important if you're trying to make money. So a limit versus a market order. This is just like stocks. So it's priced fixed transactions. So you're only willing to make the transaction at a certain price. And then market is immediate execution at the market price. So order book is a list of pending buy or sell orders on a centralized exchange. So it's things that you've tried to buy and then they're pending of buy or sell, whether you want to buy or sell. Slippage is the price difference between expected and executed trades. So when you make a trade, before it's finalized, you can experience slippage, which means you may get less of the crypto than was initially quoted when you tried to facilitate the trade. Arbitrage is profiting from differences across venues. So this is present in gambling. This is present in all different kinds of markets where, of course, all of the market makers try to give the same rate, but naturally there will be some that don't with how fast these things move. So some people will trade deliberately to guarantee themselves winnings by doing arbitrage investing or betting to take advantage of those slight changes in markets across different providers. FOMO is the fear of missing out. I'm sure you knew that one. FUD is fear, uncertainty, or doubt. And so basically, FOMO is when people would rush into a project because they're worried that it's going to go up like crazy. So they don't make the best decision. They have FOMO, fear of missing out, so they jump in. And then FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, or doubt. A lot of people out there are just incredibly negative, sometimes justifiably so. And sometimes they're the competitors of the projects that they're FUDding. So they're talking shit about things because they want people to think that it's a bad decision because it benefits them if they think their competitors aren't good, if their market thinks their competitor isn't good. So that's when you'll hear about a lot is FUD, which is basically like being a hater. HODL, diamond hands, paper hands, and wrecked are slangs for holding despite volatility, which would be like HODL, like so hold it regardless. Having diamond hands is the same sort of premise. To HODL is to hold the thing. And then someone who would have diamond hands is someone who held through volatility. So for example, I held crypto through the entire bear market. And so I had diamond hands. And so that's a term that we've given ourselves to try to feel better about our poor financial decisions, essentially, or our short-term poor decisions, but long-term good decisions, thus diamond, right? Pressure creates diamonds. Paper hands is the opposite of that. And then wrecked is suffering losses. Like you sold and you realized some losses. Then advanced and emerging topics. So we talked about this briefly, layer 1, layer 2, and modular chains. So layer 1 is base layer blockchains. So think Ethereum versus overlays, improving speed, costs, and consensus. Ethereum is one of the biggest ones where layer 1s and layer 2s are a very big topic because a lot of things are built upon Ethereum to help make the whole Ethereum ecosystem better. Rollups, which is ZK rollups, optimistic, scaling solutions, bundling transactions off-chain. That's a new term to me. Bridges/cross-chain, protocols enabling asset transfers between blockchains, restaking, eigenlayer. A lot of these are new to me. Reuse of staked assets across protocols. RWA, which stands for real world assets. This is actually a very big topic that's emerging within the crypto space. And so a lot of projects that associate themselves with this term of real world assets will make a shitload of money in this bull run because it's a very hot trending theme. And this stands for tokenized physical assets like real estate or stocks. So big money transactions are going to be real world assets that will be on the chain or on the blockchain. So projects that attach themselves to this term are likely going to do well if they execute. Then zero knowledge proofs is privacy tech proving knowledge without revealing data. RPC stands for interface for apps to interact with blockchain nodes. Subgraph, which is an index of blockchain data for efficient querying. A lot of these terms are new to me too. So don't feel like you're so far behind you can't get involved because I've been involved in crypto for 7 or 8 years at this point. And a lot of these terms I don't use in my day-to-day, so I don't really know them. So like I said, there's so many avenues. This is such a massive space. So naturally it comes with its own little subcultures and terms that mean different things to different people or don't mean different things, but are important to different people based on what it is that you want to do and how you want to be involved. And then the last piece is governance and structure. And this is something that makes Bitcoin or crypto a very big deal because of what it allows us to do that's so different from traditional financial systems where it very much feels like it's us versus them, the big guys versus us. So within governance and structure, a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's a smart contract run organizations with token-based voting. So it allows people that are involved in the ecosystem to have say over decisions that are made. A governance token is a token giving holders voting power in protocol decisions. So a governance token would be a token that is built for the purpose of voting. And so obviously the more you have, the more voting power you have. Very straightforward. A Howey test is a US legal standard to determine if a token is a security. That's new to me, but with all these laws being put into place, that's an important thing to consider. And they're setting all these rules in place now. So the money will start flooding in once they've set that clarity. Then there's a utility token versus a security token. And the difference is a functional versus an investment structured tokens. And then KYC versus KYT, identity transaction verification processes for regulatory compliance. So that was a mouthful. I'm tired just reading that all. But the one point I want to stress again is that the terms only matter depending on what you want to do. But it's more important that you understand key concepts and understand how much you need to know to do what it is you're trying to achieve. And so it's going to be a foreign language for you until it's not. And even for me, someone who watches crypto content every single day, I spend so much time on X. I read papers. I watch videos, and even I come across terms that I don't know. It doesn't mean you should stop. It doesn't mean that you're an idiot. Just like when you read books, it should be a good thing when you're reading books that have words or concepts that you don't understand. Otherwise, how do you grow? You're not an idiot because you don't know something you've never heard before, right? That's one of the biggest things that frustrates me, is that you're not dumb. How could you know something you've never heard before or it's never been explained to you? So do it however you need to. Use ChatGPT as a resource. Why I think this altcoin season could go crazier than ever is last time when there's been markets like this, there weren't tools like ChatGPT to help people figure out what things meant and how to use them. So really the only people that got to participate were the people who were fairly technically savvy and had the grit to stick with it and take the risk of potentially screwing something up that could have been real money on the line. But now you have ChatGPT. There's really no excuses to not get involved and to keep learning. I also recommend, to further your education, go over to X, follow myself there, and then follow some other people in crypto and just start learning, start consuming, start figuring out what is good information versus what is bad information. And most importantly, don't take anything anyone says as gospel. Everyone is just guessing. And so you should make your own decision, do your own research, but you have to do enough consuming to understand what good versus bad even looks and feels like. And once you get that, you can start making some great decisions. But it is urgent. The faster you start learning, the faster you start diving in, the faster you start putting up the reps that other people aren't, the more opportunity there is to make better decisions that could make life-changing money for you if you play it right. But there's so much risk here naturally with anything that's new. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of potential reward. And most of the reward will go to people who know things. And some will go to the people who are just ignorantly throwing money at the wall. But I'd rather make good decisions based on effort. And so that's where crazy gains can come into play if you put in the time. But I appreciate you watching. Welcome to the crypto world. I hope this was helpful. If you're looking to learn more things about crypto, definitely consider subscribing to the show. It's completely free to you and it means the world to me. So why not? I'll see you in the next one. Good luck out there. Peace.